The ever-bearded and mustachioed John Muir sits on a solitary rock in Yosemite National Park. He is writing in his journal about his surroundings and thoughts. He is no longer a young man and is growing older by the day, but he is still as fiery as ever. For Muir, the fight will never stop, even after he is 6 feet under. He finishes his sentence, closes his journal, and thinks off the record. He looks around and admires his work, because without him, all the trees and the streams and the animals may not be there in that moment. His mind wanders to other projects, to Rainier, to the Grand Canyon, and to his new book he's about to publish. He thinks only of that moment and the imminent future just ahead. But what Muir cannot imagine is the profound impact that he will have on the still shaping American West and the ways Americans see and interact with their still natural world. John Muir was born in Scotland in 1839, where as a boy he first fell in love with nature. When he was 11 years old, he and his family immigrated to Wisconsin, where they lived an uninspired homestead life. When the Civil War rolled around, Muir moved to Canada to duck the draft. While working as a logger and a miller in the Canadian wilderness, he reaffirmed and rediscovered his boyish love and curiosity toward the wild. Returning after the Civil War, Muir took a job at a factory where he suffered an injury that would nearly blind him and inspired him in a most peculiar way. Muir resolved to learn about and live amongst the things in this country that were untouched by man or machine. Muir studied natural sciences at the University of Wisconsin, but soon dropped out after enrolling to join the University of Nature, as he so called it. Soon after he arrived in Yosemite, California, he instantly fell in love. He spent 3 years amassing knowledge of the area, studying and sketching the native plants and animals, and capped it off by writing his first for-publication article in the New York Tribune. Muir's writings steadily grew in popularity and prominence among readers, and as a result, so did John Muir. Muir quickly became Yosemite's most prominent, best-informed, and eloquent spokespersons. Enough so that editor of the Century magazine, Robert Underwood Johnson, personally came out to Yosemite to tour it with Muir and to hear his thoughts to be published. Muir described the imminent danger to Yosemite and how incorporating it as a national park could solve this problem. Congress acted shortly after the publication of Johnson's article, making Yosemite Valley the second national park in American history. Muir didn't stop his crusading there. He made many trips as a newspaper correspondent and as a scientific pilgrim to Alaska, where he advocated for the creation of Glacier National Park, to Washington to summit and protect Mount Rainier, and to Arizona to help protect the Grand Canyon and the Petrified Forest, all while writing constantly. Also, shortly after his Yosemite victory, Muir created and headed the Sierra Club to foster appreciation for the wilderness and to protect the lands he had fought so hard for. By 1904, his prestige had grown so much with the literary, artistic, and scientific worlds that the President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, asked him to go on a camping trip. In what is considered the most important camping trip in conservation history, Muir persuaded Roosevelt to add protections to Yosemite and his other pet projects. Upon returning from the trip, deeply moved, profoundly inspired, and heavily influenced by Muir's words, Roosevelt started his fervent and furious incorporation of many national parks and monuments. Muir continued to write about and battle for the national parks and conservation up until his death in 1914 on Christmas Eve at the age of 76. Following his death, Muir remained prominent in the naturalism world. His Sierra Club remains active to this day, upholding John Muir's value of ecological mindfulness, and has also taken up the issue of climate change. Muir also survives through his ecological and botanical research and explorations, and also, of course, the 7 national parks and numerous national monuments that, to some degree, he directly caused. But most importantly, he was survived by his writings and the people he inspired while he was still alive, such as TR and scores of scientists, writers, and common folk alike, who carried on his love, respect, and fight for the protection of America's natural treasures. Through his writings, he turned conservation from the pursuits of wealthy wilderness romantics to the pursuit of progressives and ordinary Americans, of virtually untouched land that would never be critically altered by man or machine. His army of readers listened to him open up about his love of nature, and through his poetically captivating words, they became infected and acted in a way which directly resulted in the saving of millions of acres. John Muir was a visionary who recognized a pressing opportunity when he was injured at the factory and when he first visited Yosemite. He realized that America had a gift in the West, beautiful and unique lands that remained virgin from modern civilization even after, lands that lay in danger of rapid American industrialization and must be protected lest they be lost forever. Muir also set the precedent and practice of preserving land not only for beauty's sake but also because of ecological responsibility. He recognized through his studies that complete domination of the entire American landscape would not be feasible, which is a sentiment still held to this day, especially when it comes now to air pollution and climate change. In this way, he shaped the landscape of the American West in a way few people have or will. Because of the treasures he saved personally or through disciples, he ensured that the West would never be fully settled, and some of it would perpetually be wild and majestic. When making his documentary about the national parks, Ken Burns said that Muir ascended to the pantheon of the highest individuals in our country. I'm talking about the level of Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King and Thomas Jefferson and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Jackie Robinson, people who had a transformational effect on who we are. The truth of these words are made evident by the fact that Muir, an unaffluent immigrant, managed to keep this Sequoia National Park from becoming this urbanized.